Hey guys, welcome to is it the 66th day? Yes, welcome to the 66th day. And today I want to talk about a disruption, um, what a disruption in the industry means. This is something that I study in my doctoral studies. Just what is it called? Disclaimer, I have not gotten my doctorate yet, but I have taken doctoral business courses in a doctoral program. And I wanted to talk about what a disruption is and how that's different from, I don't know to say if it's different, but kind of different than innovative. And so the definition of disruption is a disturbance or problems within which interrupt an event, activity, or process. Second definition is a radical change to an existing industry or market due to a technological innovation. And so you may be sitting there, okay, a disruption. Well, let's talk about some examples of disruption, and that will give you an idea of what a disruptive business model is. And so, first example that I want to pull up, that I want to bring up, is Tesla. Right, Tesla is a main one, but let me go to ones that are really a no ones that you can't really refute, and you will be able to tell a starch difference. So you can be innovative within an industry, and it's like, okay, wow, that's like innovative, right? There's something new happening, right? Like, okay, there's this new patented technology within this toothpaste, but people are still going to buy toothpaste, right? Um, so that's the thing, right? And so you look at innovation, but there's certain innovations that turn disruptive. And so the very first example, I know I talked about Tesla, of course, that has done a disruption, but I'm gonna give a more clearer example. And that clearer example is going to be Uber, right? Uber. How Uber disrupted the taxi industry, right? And I don't know if you're in a city to where the taxi still going strong. That is great. However, where I live, uh, taxis were pretty hard to come by because I'm not in a big city situation, right? Our city transportation, all of that. I mean, it's there, but it's not like Chicago or New York or some of those bigger cities. And so Uber was a very disruptive became very disruptive in the industry because it really changed the way that uh, people actually get rides, right? How the transportation industry, because it used to be taxis. If you were to go somewhere, of course, it would have to be public transportation and different things like that. But it totally disrupted the taxi industry, right? Because before that, before ride sharing, the only thing we knew about was taxis, right? Aside from public transportation. And so that's one example. Second example that can't be refuted is going to be now the first one. Now you can't deny the first one. The second one is going to be the Airbnb, right? Um, of course, that really brought a disruption. Of course, because in the hotel industry, I'm not saying that the hotel industry is not strong, right? But it did disrupt the industry, right? For people who were wanting to stay in one big house, right? Especially people with big families or big amounts of people that needed to stay somewhere. So you look at that, and that's like, okay, that is definitely a disruptive brand, right? Airbnb and different things like that. Netflix, okay, we can't deny Netflix, right? So it kind of progressed like very quickly because it used to be the VHSs with the VCRs. I was trying to tell my husband, I was like, do you remember we had it turn it to channel 3 in order to get the VCR to work on that particular channel? Was it 2 or 3? I don't know. Someone who is older than me, preferably could could actually speak to this. Was it channel 2 or channel 3 that you had to plug up? I'm not talking about PlayStation. You had to plug up your Nintendo and your VCR. You had to have it on that channel for the VCR to play. And so Blockbuster, that used to be the thing. And then we started seeing red boxes, right? I think I just saw one. Like, I don't know. I don't really rent from that. I think it may have been like one or two times, but Netflix streaming definitely disrupted the industry. And so, yeah, so Netflix, don't need to say anymore. Um, Another thing was Amazon. Y'all know Amazon and retail spaces, right? We are seeing less retail spaces, and it's crazy because my mentor was saying how back in the day when people would bring up, oh my goodness, you can order stuff from the internet and all this, and he said, why would I order something from the internet when I can just go to the store? And now he says, years and years later, why would I go to the store when I can just order it from the internet, right? So it's totally a flip flop model that's happened with Amazon and retail spaces, right? A lot of people are shopping online. Online boutiques are a really big thing. So those are uh, some of the things. Of course, there's some older ones that had a big disruption, but those are the ones that I wanted to bring up, and what disruptive brands do, and how it actually changes how the industry is ran. So wanted to bring that up. That's always been um, a very interesting research and study that I've looked at, looking at tons of articles and seeing the difference between a disruption. Of course, let's not forget about Napster, right? Napster and the whole online streaming process, the iPod, those things like that. Because listen, the cassette player used to be the thing that all kids would want on Christmas, especially in the early 90s and even before that, right? Right. If you had a Walkman, man, you were really doing something, right? And let's not forget about the boombox. That now I never had one. Not the ones that you walk around with, right? Like how many D batteries that you have to put in there for you to walk around with it. I'm sure it was heavy. I know it was heavy, but and then it just progressed to CDs, and then from CDs, yes, channel 3 for the VCR. Yes, I knew my husband would come through. Yes. That's so awesome. I knew it. So I was talking about what channel you had to be on in order to get the VCR to play on that particular channel. Right now, you just go to Netflix and you pick the app, right? So crazy. I remember this one girl, she was playing Sonic on her phone. Now Sonic is real popular right now, but this was probably about 10 years ago when she was playing a different Sonic, and I'm like, "Oh, I had that game." And she was like, "Oh, wow, you have the app?" I'm like, "No. I had Sega Genesis." Yeah, so it was a whole thing. I couldn't like she couldn't even comprehend cuz she was like 5 and playing all of that. So but yeah, but CDs, and then it went from CDs to streaming, right? Shout out to the people who have a cassette player in their car, right? Or a CD player. Now, these newer cars don't have CD players. Like, it is like, why would you, right? When you have streaming, when you have something that to where you don't even need uh hey, just don't need it. You just plug it up to your phone and play whatever you want to play, right? My kids, they don't say commercials, they say ads. So I'm just like, no, these were called commercials back in the day, and they didn't last as long as they do now. Now ads are like 5 seconds or 30 seconds at max, but uh, back when we watched shows, I don't know, I guess it's a history lesson, guys. No, or a reminiscent, a trip down memory lane, right? When we used to watch shows, and uh, those commercials would last like 3 to 4 minutes, right? And we would have to sit through that. Um, this was before we can even record it, and if we did, there were a lot of things that we had to do. So, anyways, yeah, so disruption is good for the industry. Disruption is really good. One thing that's really disrupting the industry right now is AI, of course. AI is shaking up all areas of in the industry. We're looking at education, right? So y'all know I'm a faculty member. And so as faculty, we're looking at ways that we are having to combat against AI writing. So when people write essays, we used to have a thing called turn it in. So just in case you copied from an article or copy from another student's article and pasted it as your own, turn it in, this technology would track that. Now it has to start tracking AI writing. And so it's getting pretty interesting. So AI is affecting the education industry. It's affecting all around, even in the accounting industry that I'm in, right? AI is so great, and you got to learn how to work with it instead of against it. Yes, it's so easy to say, "Oh no, we're totally against it." Now, there's some things that cannot be replaced by AI or machine. Um, there's just some things that won't be able to be replaced by that, by that at all. But to know that, yes, it's going to affect preaching, because guess what? You go in there, it's going to affect social media, it's going to affect the coaching industry, it's going to affect all kinds. It's already affecting marketing, social media, and all of that, right? It is getting crazy. So you got to learn how you can use it to your advantage rather than trying to fight against it, right? I would use it to work with me, especially let's just say, for instance, right, in the accounting space, right? There's so many things like the software that I use. It's really great at, okay, wait, you've been here before, so it's this category, right? Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it gets it wrong. And the thing is that it does discover patterns, right? But I won't get into that, but it's going to affect your industry as we know it, right? As we know it. So be prepared for that and do whatever you need to disrupt the skills that you've learned, right? Um, I was watching, I watched this old TikTok that said getting a job in the 90s or getting a management position. And it was like, oh my goodness, you know how to use Word, right? Microsoft Word. Yeah, what is Word, right? For those, I don't think I have a lot of young people who watch this anyway. So you guys know what Word is, right? And if you do, that's awesome. We used to have Word Perfect. I think I saw that still around. I'm like, awesome. If you're using Word Perfect out there. Um, oh yeah. So it's affecting every industry that you're in. But reason why I say that is because it used to be a big deal, business communication and knowing how to write a memo, right? That was something, right? Knowing how to put a resume together, knowing how to put a memo together, knowing how to use Excel and Word and Access. And fun fact, when I was uh, applying for one of the older jobs that I've had, right? One of the first jobs, and I made the highest score on the Excel exam. So yeah, it's just crazy how it's getting ready to disrupt a lot of things. So yeah, let it work with you, right? Learn how to use it to your advantage. Don't be one of the people that's like, ah, no, I'm gonna, like, my husband makes fun of me because sometimes I'll do math the long way. So if you guys got any questions, feel free to put them down. But I'll do math the long way and be like, oh, let me just do that. Where you can use a calculator, you can ask Siri, all of that. So just whatever industry that you're in, if it's education, if it's real estate, if it's cybersecurity, if it's accounting, if it's IT, if it's being a VA, if it's social media, if it's marketing, if it's coaching, right? You better show your work. Right, that part, right? I like what you said right there, but that is getting less and less, right? So in the accounting classes that I teach, a lot of the homework is electronic, right? So I don't know how much work that it actually shows like throughout. I think they made it to where you have to show your work, but it is crazy, right? It is crazy to where the that AI is doing the processing for you. And if it's doing the process for you, now sometimes it can be taken to you, like you can take it for your advantage, like simple things, right? Like if I am a marketing person, or if I need a 10 social media posts, right? It's okay to put those social media posts, but you still want to put your touch on it. You still want to make it authentic, because here's the thing: you're in business, people do business with people. That's why I heard coach that said, you think you're doing B to B or B to C or C to C, but you're really doing P to P, no matter what it is or who it is, right? The only reason why people will do business with someone else is because the person, right? Because it's person to person. And so you want to make sure that whatever you do is very authentic. And I will tell you this: Clubhouse, I don't know where that stands. I don't know if you guys are like, "Oh my gosh, I just got off a Clubhouse and I'm on here listening to you." That's great, but that was something that was used highly in during the COVID times, right? And what it did was is that really um uh helped a lot of coaches and different people like that, um different coaches and different quote unquote experts to come and rise to popularity because they knew how to talk a good game. But when it comes to actually backing that game up, that is a whole different situation. And so AI won't be able to cover for you if you are not good, right? That's something that my mentor says. He says, you can't substitute for being good. Like, you just can't. You really cannot. So, Derek Jones says, it's good to have the answer, but if someone asks you a question and you can't answer because you didn't do the work, there's a difference between someone who's been through the process and can actually show you the process versus what are the steps. There's a difference between actually testing something, right? That's why you're tested. And I know whenever I test my students, they do have to show the work. Um, let me tell y'all something else. So in college, one of the hardest tests that I've ever gotten, one of the hardest tests that I've given to my students have been open book tests, right? I try to warn my son who's in college, right? I try to warn him. I'm like, if a test is open book, just know that it's probably going to be one of the hardest exams that you're going to take. Why is that, right? You're like, open book. Oh my gosh, the answers are just right there. No, the answer is not just right there. What I mean by that is, for my tests that I actually push out and that are open book, you can't just flip to the definition of the word and say, oh, there goes the answer. I got it. Boom. Check mark. No, my open book tests are really hard. Like, you have to show the work. Like, you actually have to know what you're doing. You can't just read a section in there. You have to learn how to apply it. And so, knowing that I come from a background to where when I teach my students, I teach how to apply it, right? I can speak at a level to where they can understand it, but it still takes a level of doing the homework. I said, if you want to succeed in this accounting class, you have to do the work. Like, there's no way around it. Yes, you'll understand me. Yes, you can read the PowerPoints. Yes, you can read it 10 times over, but unless you actually put it to work and apply the information, it is not going to help gain more skills. You have to research. And so, even more than research, you have to go through the process. It says, yes, show thyself approved. That is so important. And so, that's why I say that the AI industry, it's great. It can really help you if you know your stuff. So, here's the thing: something else that's really disruptive, and I'm just speaking for my industry that's been really big, is people who are watching other social media influencers, right? That are giving tax advice, or they're giving something, and it's like, hey, you want to know how you can write off like going outside, right? Only thing you have to do is, and they'll say that, and it's like, yep. The iris will approve it, right? Or something like that, right? And it's crazy because it's like, you can share that, but unless it's actually tried, unless you have actually, like what Derek said, you've actually done the research and seen, like, okay, this was a case that this happened, and if your case is similar, it will work. What happened? Yes, AI is writing sermons these days. I tested it. It writes sermons. However, you like, how can I say it? There's a weight and there's a substance behind what you have to do. Like, there's a weight and a substance. So, someone who comes out the blue and says, "Hey, I'm an accountant because I read an accounting book," and I'm just someone who can just repeat sentences or quotes of a book, that's one thing, but someone who actually have tested it and tried it and know it, right? There's a difference. There's a difference between a weight and a substance that a person has in a particular area or a subject. My husband, he has studied under Miles Monroe, Kingdom Message, saw him in person, studied under him. I mean, just so much. And so when it comes to substance, yeah, I can read a book about the kingdom, and I have, and I know the definition of the kingdom. Ooh, got me put on a spot. I put myself on a spot. Governing influence over a king over his territory, impacting him with his personal will, purpose, and intent. Um, that reflect the desire of the king and the nature of his citizens, or something like that, right? See, look, I put myself on on like, that was just hard. Like, I put myself on there, but I can quote that and say, look, guys, I understand it, but it's something to where somebody has put hours and hours and hours of study into it. There's a difference, right? So when people read or seek about tax information, they come and they ask me questions, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. Ask me questions about taxes or something that you've heard. But what happens is that there's a difference between someone who doesn't have the background or the knowing behind it, like they don't have that, the substance behind it, versus someone who's studied it for over 10 years, right? There's just a difference. There's just a difference. There's just a huge difference, right? And it says AI writing sermons now these days tells you when to hoop to. Yes, they do have hooping machines. Yeah, yeah, they do. They do. And you better spit them rhymes. Thank you. Um, but yeah, so there's a difference. There's a total difference. There's a total difference. And so, um, yeah, I think it's important to have discernment these days, right? Versus someone who just came out the blue and said, "Hey, But um, I just think that it's a good thing. But I think so now that I'm actually processing this, I think what it's going to do, because we've been in an information age to where you can Google anything, right? How to save on taxes. Oh my goodness, why didn't my accountant tell me that I can, you know, do something, and then to find out that it doesn't apply to your situation, right? Um, but I believe that it's going to really, how can I say, is really going to have people wanting authenticity and substance, right? Because we're in an information age. Like, some of these courses that you buy, right? I know some people, and it's okay to have this mentality. They have the mentality of, okay, everything someone has said to me. Let's just say you go to a coach, right? Or a mindset coach. I have a mindset coach. Well, I could just Google it, right? Okay, well, there's a difference in Googling and actually walking through an experience, right? And so the thing is that there are going to be people that are going to be hungering or like really wanting, lacking experience. And that's the thing. Like, you're wanting to take them through an experience, not just knowledge. There's a difference with knowledge, but they want an experience. So when you're genuine, when you're able to do that, you can take them through an experience, and you can undergird them with your understanding, right? So you think about understanding, you understand. I don't know. It's just, I see it in my head. And so Derek says, even the elect will be deceived, right? So the thing is that it's so easy to be deceived, especially um when you're not an expert in the area that you're wanting to seek coaching or expertise in, right? And so I think that that's important. I think that that's important. Um, y'all are making me think through like what are the differences in really knowing if somebody is just kind of talking or they got something from AI or some knowledge, or when someone actually has an understanding, when someone has a depth to what they've studied, right? It's just not a fly by night thing, but it's something that they actually lived out. So I don't know, or maybe not. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I just think authenticity is something. I think that's what social media um, is wanting is the authenticity, and so I think that's why pictures with families, of course, they get more viral than other things. But yeah, so AI, so that's something to keep an eye out on, and to really see how it can help boost your business and really help you disrupt an industry, right? How can it really help you disrupt an industry, right? So AI can't tell your story. That part, right? That part, that part. AI can't tell your story. And so the thing is from people to people, your story and everything that you bring to the table is everything that you are, right? It's the glory, it's the dock side, it's your weight, it's your substance. So when you bring that, like there's like whenever like you invest into certain people, you don't invest into them. Yes, they may have certain knowledge, but it's almost like a person buys you, like before they buy um like the knowledge or you know what I mean? Like, because there's so many people that do what you do, but why do they choose you, right? So you think about like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, uh, In and Out Burger, um, so many places, right? Sonic, Brahms, right? All these burger places, but why are people attracted to this brand, or why are people attracted to this brand? So if you're ever thinking like, oh no, well, everybody else is doing what I'm doing, how am I going to stand out? Well, you stand out because of who you are, right? Everybody has a different brand story, and even if you guys have the same story, right, the same type of story, the same type of life, it's still your experiences and your perceptions and everything that like God created you to be will like helps you. Like it helps you become like who you are. And so, anyways, just want to share that. And yeah, just to really sit there and look into AI, especially as it um helps as it helps. It can be a tool to help you, or it can be a tool that you just hate your whole life, right? Like, let's think about Kodak, right? I think Kodak is still around. Good nuggets. Thank you so much. Kodak, right? Wow. Kodak. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Somebody out there who really likes Kodak, let me know. My daughter thought it was the coolest thing to have those cameras that actually spit out the pictures. And I'm like, man, that was like back in the 80s. Like that was when I was 2 or 3 years old. And so yeah, this disruption. Definitely say the not photography industry. I won't say that, but taking personal photos. So, anyways, Polaroid. Oh my goodness, that's why not Kodak, Polaroid. I love Polaroid. Wish I had one of those cameras. But anyways, yes. So disruption. So think about disruption and how it affects your industry. And here's something else that I'll challenge you to do. Download one of those AI bots. I dare you. And just test something out in your industry, right? If you're in counseling, if you're in the technical industry, right? You can definitely be like, okay, give me 5 points on this, and it will. And so it's crazy. Just yeah. I don't have one. I don't know. Maybe that might be my next next venture or something. So, anyways, AI disruption is coming. Disruptions even coming up in the employment, of course, right? We're already seeing that. I was just talking to someone, was it today, about y'all see different mass differences between the baby boomer generation, the Gen X, and the millennials, and then the Gen Z, right? But that's going to be another topic. That's going to definitely be another topic. So, another day, we'll talk about that later. And so, I hope y'all have a great and amazing night. God bless.